Welcome to the first episode of the Film Pundits. We are the show that talks about comic book movies and your favorite heroes and villains. My name is Adam Hlavik, and I've got some guests here today, or my co-host, I should say, Mr. Hector Navarro.
That's me. Hi.
And Mr. Agustin Rios.
How's it going?
How you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing well.
Good.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being here. This
As
is gonna be a lot of
guests
fun.
or co-hosts, either one.
You guys
Either
are
one.
like the
So
the
happy.
permanent
Can
both.
you call me like first mate?
Sure thing.
Okay.
I guess I can.
First mate.
Let's talk a little bit of background. Let's talk about how you guys got into comics and movies and what you guys are kind of involved in here in LA.
What qualifies us to be here?
Sure.
You got it. I'll go first. Real quick. I've loved comic books and movies since I was a kid. Significant comic books when I was a kid was Spider-Man, and he's my favorite superhero character, Spider-Man. Significant movie when I was a kid, Jurassic Park. Blew my mind. Loved that stuff growing up. Went to art college with this guy in San Diego, and then afterwards got a job in post-production, working on movies and stuff, at first in San Diego and then
With
Los
me as
Angeles.
well.
With you as well,
Yeah.
the whole time, all the way.
The whole time.
With Agustin right here.
Mhm.
Augie, go.
My name is Augustine. I've loved comics since I was a kid. Pretty much the same background as Hector. Went to the library, checked them out, fell in love. That's how it kind of happened
Yeah.
to me. Grew up. I went to art college with Hector. Found my passion, got my degree in media arts and animation, which is great, and started post-production movie work in 2010. And now we're here talking about the stuff with you guys.
Who's your favorite superhero or superheroes, if you can't pick? If you can't
It's
choose.
like I told you, it's choosing between my favorite Beatles song. It's either Batman or Wolverine. I can't decide.
Awesome.
Ooh, good
Go.
choices.
Spider-Man was mine, and my favorite Beatles song is probably...
You cannot pick a Beatles song. How is that possible?
What's the one with the... this makes me look awful. Oh, my God, I'm blanking on the... Now I want to cut this part out. Let's cut off the part where I don't know a Beatles song. I can't name
Let's
one.
not cut it
Eleanor
out.
Rigby is my favorite Beatles song.
Eleanor
I love that
Rigby's a
song.
good
Eleanor
one.
Rigby.
What
It makes
about
me
you,
sad
Adam?
and happy.
us
Let's
about
see.
yourself.
First comic book was The Greatest Superman Stories Ever Told, Volume 3. When I was 3 years old.
So specific.
When I was 3.
That's
This
very
one.
And you read Volume 2 when you were 2.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
powered through Volume 1
Volume
when you
when I
were
was in the
1 year
belly.
old.
When
When
I was
you're
in
in
the
the
belly.
belly.
Your mom was reading it to you.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I started working post-production in San Diego with these guys. That's kind of how we all met.
Yeah.
And then moved up to LA, and now we're here talking comic book movies because that's what everyone loves to talk about
We love
nowadays.
it.
That's the big thing.
We love it.
It's our genesis. It's our childhood.
Well, let's talk about some headlines.
All right.
So the first big headline from last week is that, well, it wasn't really officially released by Warner Brothers, but there was a leak that has the potential upcoming slate of all the DC movies. Obviously, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and for the love of God, don't anyone call it Batman v Superman, because that drives me
Yeah.
crazy.
Terrible.
Yeah.
It's Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of
Yeah.
Justice for May 2016, Shazam, July 2016, Sandman, Christmas 2016, which Joseph Gordon-Levitt is working on, Zack Snyder's Justice League in May 2017, Wonder Woman, July 2017 also, and then a Green Lantern Flash movie, Christmas 2017, Man of Steel 2, an official sequel in 2018, and now there's a rumor that there's going to be an actual Batman movie called The Batman in 2019.
Awesome.
So
2019.
2019.
Wait, what's 2018 again? It was Man of Steel 2?
Man of Steel 2.
So like another
An official
Superman
sequel to
movie.
Man of Steel.
Just another, like a movie with just Superman.
Yeah, an actual sequel.
And then
there's
another,
also,
and then the Ben Affleck Batman a year after that.
yeah. So
Gotcha.
the rumor is also that Ben Affleck may direct that movie too.
Yeah, that would be sick.
So
Because he's a really
what do
good
you
director.
what do you think, Hector, about all these movies?
Let's
in this whole
let's
slate?
break it down. Let's go one at a time.
So Batman versus Superman.
mean, yeah.
Obviously, we
What
all
else-
know
what
it's
else can we
shooting.
s-
It's
yeah.
shooting right now. Ben Affleck's in it
It's
as Batman.
happening.
Henry
It's
Cavill, Gal
happening.
Gadot,
Right.
all those
Good
peoples.
move.
Then Shazam.
Shazam.
I wanna talk about
is the one
Shazam.
that like sticks out to me the most.
Yeah.
Really, the one that sticks out to me the most, the one that kind of doesn't fit, is the Sandman movie.
Yeah, which I think is more of like, I don't think it's necessarily going to be set in that universe, but I just think it's another entry in like the DC Vertigo film slate.
It's another Warner Brothers superhero.
Right.
Well, not even super. It's like a DC comic book
Property
movie.
movie.
Property
Yeah.
movie. So that one, I would be interested to see if they're going to try to get it to fit with the rest of the world. Like, we'll see.
I think if anything, that'll fit more into the Dark Justice movie that Guillermo del Toro is supposedly doing.
Yeah, where's that happening?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Where's
fit
that
in?
on the list?
I don't know.
With Constantine and like Deadman and Zatanna and all those
Yeah.
other characters,
Right,
Swamp
right.
Thing
Swamp
maybe,
Thing,
whatever.
yeah. Let's talk
so-
about Shazam though.
Let's talk about
Shazam.
Shazam. I'm stoked about Shazam.
I'm excited too.
I love
I think it's
Shazam.
good.
I think that the most interesting thing about that character, the little kid, Billy Batson, who when he says the magic word Shazam and turns into the superhero, is his origin story. It's the
Right.
most interesting thing. So he should have his own movie that talks about his origin story. I think it could be so funny. We talked about
Yeah.
potential actors. What do
Right.
you want to see?
Well, we were talking about it earlier. We were talking about maybe having The Rock in there somehow as either Black Adam or having him in there as Captain Marvel himself.
I would love, and I don't. And here's the other thing too. I don't even think they're going to call him Captain Marvel at this point.
Really?
I think they're going to change
It's
the
just gonna be
name.
straight
Yeah,
up
because they
Shazam.
changed
Shazam.
they changed the comic. The comic
Recently.
in New 52 is now
Recently.
just Shazam.
It's just Shazam.
Because Marvel, Captain Marvel, they don't want to make any confusion.
It's
so.
very
Gotcha.
confusing.
Because
Yeah.
there
It's
is a
very
Marvel
confusing.
Captain Marvel.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Which is Marvel essentially.
To be fair, Captain Marvel was first, and he was and he was. And I know that's confusing, but like the version that we're talking about, the DC comic book version now, he was first many years ago, like in the 40s. He was a competitor to Superman, done by a different comic book company.
Right.
Years later, DC Comics bought the rights to that character,
Right.
and DC Comics, in a confusing move, started to make Captain Marvel comics. And then after a while, when they stopped, Marvel Comics, Stan Lee, they saw that there was not a character named Captain Marvel being used, and they were like, well, we're Marvel Comics.
Right.
Let's create
We
a
need a
Captain
Captain
Marvel.
Marvel,
So
yeah.
then they did that, and then there was a kind of a back and forth war between
Right, right.
you know, who kind of deserves to have that name or whatever.
So-
Anyway, I'm stoked about the movie. I think it's a really smart thing because it's a movie that they can do on their own, but it still feels like it will fit within the broader sort of universe and the world that they're trying to create. Because Billy Batson, Shazam, he's his own character. He's off to the side.
Right.
Like you can't do a Wonder Woman movie without the setup that she's going to be in like the Batman, Superman.
Right.
And then now we're even seeing the Wonder Woman movie is going to come out after Justice League. Like
Yeah.
she's like intrinsically tied in with those characters.
Right.
You
Right.
can't do like a Teen Titans movie without doing another movie of like the adult superheroes first,
Right.
and then mentioning, oh, by the way, we all have kid sidekicks.
Sidekicks. and
They'll
then-
do their own thing later, but like you got to have, you know. But
Yeah.
Shazam is like his own
Plus,
thing.
like the
It
one
can
thing
do
that we
its
were
own
talking
thing.
about right before the show was, I almost see Shazam as like that B character, like that Iron Man of character,
Right.
and now
Totally.
they're gonna try to put him like on the forefront, like
Yeah.
he'll be
Right.
that A-list.
So
character.
much fun.
Well, what I think would be fun is if they did it sort of like Guardians of the Galaxy, like they're taking it not so seriously
Absolutely.
as the rest of the movies are.
That'd be the
because
best.
Shazam
Yep.
is gonna be a little kid
Yeah.
transforming into suddenly an adult with
Right.
superpowers that can compete
Yeah.
Right.
against Superman.
So
even.
much fun. It's
Exactly.
like
He can
big.
beat Superman.
It's like big mixed with.
Exactly.
What was the other one we were saying? Like it's like big mixed with, I don't know, Thor mixed with, because like old versions
Right.
of Thor, it was like a skinny guy who would like bang a stick and then he would
Right.
turn into Thor.
Right,
It's
right.
like it's like those
Exactly.
classic superhero tropes, but
Mhm.
mixed with big. It's a little kid in the in the body
and
of an adult.
It
So
gives
much
them
fun.
A little bit of room to have it be playful, to have
Yep.
it be a little
Yep.
bit more comedic, maybe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
A little bit more wiggle room to play with,
So-
like
yeah.
Guardians do.
So I'm
Right.
stoked about that one. And then Justice
Then-
League we have in May 2017,
Right. Justice
which is
League,
inevitable.
Which we know kind
Yeah.
of like what it's gonna be. It's a team up movie.
Yeah.
Wonder
Right.
Woman,
Sure.
self-explanatory. The
Yep.
other one that really intrigues me, Green Lantern and the Flash
Yes.
team up.
That's
Which I
really
think would
smart.
Be awesome.
That's gonna
It's
be a good
really
one.
smart. I think that the Flash can have his own movie. Green Lantern's already had a movie and it was terrible. So it's almost like he had a shot and he messed it up.
right.
But the Flash is such a great character. He also has a great origin story, being struck by lightning and being bathed in chemicals, and then he gets superpowers. Like
Yeah.
that's cool. But the fact that they're putting both of these guys in one movie is it would be as if Marvel like in their next Iron Man movie wasn't an Iron Man movie, but it was like Iron Man and Hulk
Right.
team up. Like so much fun. People
Yeah,
would
yeah,
like
yeah.
love that.
It would be a good team up.
Be a
Or
great
if they
team
even
up.
had like a Thor Hulk team up, that would be
Right.
fun too.
Who do you guys think it's likely going to be? Barry Allen and
Hal Jordan.
or do you think
Probably,
they'll be Wally West?
which is a
and-
bummer. You know what though? I'm pretty sure it's going to be Barry Allen because Barry Allen's sort of like the regular, sort of quintessential Flash out of the different generations of the Flash character. But it might still be Jon Stewart, even in the Justice League movie and even in this team up movie, because we've already seen a Hal Jordan movie once.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Justice League is great, and the same problem with the Avengers. It's not the most diverse group, at least at first. They have to
Right.
bring in other members. At first, it's mostly just white dudes, right? For both superhero teams, Avengers, Justice League. So maybe even for the Justice League movie, they're trying to have Cyborg in there. That's the other rumor.
Right.
But it's like, you know what? They might go full on and be like, let's have Jon Stewart, the African-American Green Lantern, be the Green Lantern
Right.
Right.
because he's a great character in his own right. And then maybe later we'll bring back Hal Jordan.
True.
Probably not played by Ryan Reynolds, but like we'll bring back that character.
Mhm.
Hopefully it's not played by Ryan
Hopefully,
Reynolds.
just
Just
Ryan
get
did a
that taste
great
out of your
job, but
mouth.
it's get the taste out of your mouth.
yeah,
exactly.
It's just to
Yeah.
clean up the slate. We don't need
Exactly.
that right now.
True.
Yeah.
And then, the Batman. I think
Yeah.
even though it is 5 years away, I think it's fine. I mean, we've just had an entire trilogy of Batman movies. I'm totally cool with doing Justice League and then, working out the other characters and then doing Batman.
I hope they don't do another origin story.
I don't think it will. I don't think it will. If anything, I have a feeling it'll just pick up where Justice League ends, and we'll kind of go into the history of like what's been going on in Batman's life prior to whatever.
Even with Batman versus Superman, the movie that comes out in 2016. The rumor is that Batman, played by Ben Affleck, is older. Right. He's like in his 40s.
Right.
And he's coming out of retirement, or like he's been Batman this whole time. Superman was not the first character to show up. Like he was, but they never mentioned Batman. But apparently Batman's already been a thing in Gotham City.
Right.
So even going off of that,
he's well established.
He's well established. I'm assuming that, the Justice League, since it's going to take place afterwards, Batman's just going to be a little bit older. Right. He'll be in his 40s still. He'll, maybe in his 50s.
Exactly.
And by the time they get around to the Batman, I think it would be super cool if they did two things. If they did the Riddler as a serious take on the villain, because we haven't seen that since Jim Carrey. The Riddler could be awesome. It could be like a Saw movie.
It could be like
right,
a Saw
like
movie.
really smart and really cool. And I think it'd be really smart if they brought in a Robin and do like a full-on Robin story.
Played by Daniel Radcliffe.
And take it to
I'd be down with that.
Did you guys see that?
Here's the thing. Rumor is that Nightwing's already going to appear in Batman versus Superman. Again,
snap.
I know. They're kind of skipping it. It's cool. Yeah. It's exciting. They're kind of skipping it a little bit with the Dick Grayson stuff where he's Robin at first, but then turns into Nightwing. But it's smart. It's because Batman's already established. Right? He's 40. He's already a little bit older. It'd be sweet if by the time they get to the Batman, like the story is, he meets Tim Drake. Right, what we know as the third Robin, like, and he'll be a little bit younger, and Nightwing's hanging around or whatever. But it's like it's about this new Robin and Batman and Robin. We get a movie with Batman and Robin for once, a good movie.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Now, my whole thing is that since we have all these characters, are they gonna keep it continuous like Marvel is doing? All those movies feel like they can fit in, like they are in the same universe.
I think inevitably they kind of have to. You can't have. You can't have like a Christopher Nolan type of Batman and then a Man of Steel type of Superman because it won't mesh.
They're kind of disjointed.
Yeah, completely disjointed.
The look is more similar to where they were before.
Right.
But at the same time, if you were to see Batman show up in Superman's Man of Steel, then you wouldn't think of Christopher Nolan's Batman.
No, I think with this new Ben Affleck Batman, they're gonna try to go a little bit more fantastic. So you can
a little more comic booky.
Yeah, you can have Mr. Freeze and like. Yeah. Clayface, all these villains,
and not make
tactical looking.
And not make it feel so awkward.
I mean, his suit literally looks like the same suit that Superman was wearing in the new movie.
It's
like
just
the
Batman's
same design.
version.
It's just gray and black.
Exactly.
Like it's the same thing, which is the way it works in the comic books.
I think that would be freaking cool.
Yeah.
Because I love Nolan's take on him, but the tactical Batman just seemed.
I mean, it plays well in our reality.
In that world, yes.
Yeah.
But in the more fantastical sort of more, if they want to broaden more villains, I think they're gonna have to make Batman a little bit more fantastic.
So moving on to the next article was actually still related to Justice League, that Jason Momoa will play Aquaman, and apparently he will actually have some sort of a cameo or something in Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, because they want to put him in Justice League.
Yeah. So I personally I feel like this movie just has too many damn characters now. Like. I'm okay with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. That I'm fine with.
Yeah.
A cameo by Cyborg in Star Labs, even if it's just like a one-liner, cool. But now you got to throw in Aquaman. Pretty soon they're going to be throwing in Flash and Green Lantern. It's like just keep it Batman versus Superman.
Right. And maybe the cameo would be Wonder Woman. Would be great.
Yeah.
But if they do this Aquaman thing, I think it would be a pretty good addition. I mean, that guy, he would look awesome freaking coming out of the water.
Well, the dude's like a surfer. Like that was his background.
Right.
The dude looks like he belongs in the ocean.
He looks like he belongs in the ocean.
He's tan as hell.
Just like the way his face is built, he looks like he's aerodynamic and or aquadynamic.
Aquadynamic. We were talking about it earlier too. I'm stoked that they again are doing an Aquaman movie maybe at some point eventually.
Right.
It would be cool for him to be in the Justice League. I kind of always thought that because he's such a tricky character and he's so stupid and silly, that if it were me making these movies and making these decisions, I would have held off on doing any Aquaman thing until after the first Justice League movie and then maybe give him his own movie later. It's the same thing that in the Avengers, technically, some of the founding members are Ant-Man and his partner, the Wasp. And the reason they were not in the first Avengers movie is because they're lame characters. It's not that they're lame characters. No, let me rephrase. They're like
lame,
difficult to explain.
Right.
They're like a tough sell. So they replaced those two guys with like, you know what? We'll just have Black Widow and Hawkeye, like spies, like human spies. We've already got a giant green guy. We've already got a God of Thunder. You know what I mean? So like it helps sell it just a little bit.
That's more like in the fantastic range. That
Exactly. So after they did the Avengers movie, they're going to give Ant-Man his own movie to help the audience explain his whole deal. Right. I always thought Aquaman would work the same way. Do a Justice League film with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, maybe the Flash, maybe Green Lantern.
If they treat this Aquaman as well as they treated him in Justice League animated TV show, I know,
and that's he was actually super badass
in
that. But
even in like Injustice, the video game, and like the New 52 Jeff Johns stuff, like they respect the character of Aquaman. Like the way he's been rebooted, I mean, just that Injustice game I played through, and I'm like, Aquaman was like my favorite character.
Everybody knows that he's a bit of a joke. Everybody knows he's very cheesy. Everybody knows the pop culture things where like he talks to fish, and he's like, he's very over the top and cheesy. But he actually has a super cool origin story that not a lot of people know about. So I'm stoked to see him in this Justice League movie. I like the character. It'd be cool to see the character. I kind of just wish they kind of gave him his own movie to explore that origin. His best story is his origin story. Nobody knows that he was a kid who grew up here in the United States thinking he was a normal human kid. He grew up like in Maine somewhere, like near the ocean. He loved the ocean. He loved to go swimming. He was raised by a single dad because his like mom died. And then when his dad, when he's a little bit older, when he's like a teenager, his dad on his deathbed, his dad tells him, "Oh, by the way, you're not all the way human. Your mom was basically a mermaid." And then dies.
Right.
And then the little kid's like, "What?" Exactly. And he goes back into the ocean and realizes like he can breathe underwater. Yeah. He has super strength because he's like dense, so he can survive ocean pressures. He goes back to Atlantis. This like it's like Asgard. It's like this fantastical place. He finds out he's the heir to the throne and like takes on this responsibility. So like, what would it be like if one of us had to go do that? That's what is interesting about the character.
Right.
Such a life change, right?
He's not a guy who was born underwater and just raised underwater and then comes up to the surface. It's a life changer.
Superman.
Exactly. It's very similar to like Tony Stark.
Right.
Like he's a certain way, and then something happens to him, and then he goes into the cave and builds the suit, and then he's changed. Right. So it would work great for like a movie. It'd be so cool, so compelling.
I think it'd be cool.
And I think Jason Momoa. I mean, he's obviously a big physical character to be up against like Batman, Superman, all those guys.
Absolutely.
You got to have someone who's got physicality.
He's going to look correct standing next to those guys. That's probably why they cast him.
Exactly.
And I think that's more of the seriousness that'll make him look legit next to those guys.
Listen, Robert Downey Jr. is the best Iron Man ever. But when he's standing next to Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth, they for sure have to like bulk him up a little bit, like give him some lifts in his shoes, gel up his hair, something. Because he's a little bit older and he's like a normal dude. And Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth are like inhumanly buff. Like they're stupid buff. Because they're super. They're coming out of the comic book. Robert Downey Jr. is like, no, I'm a dude. I'm a regular man.
Into the comic book.
I'm
pretending
in.
And pulling the suit out. Pretending. We're gonna shift over to Marvel now.
All right.
There was so last week they announced that Scott Derrickson will be directing Doctor Strange, and now Deadline reported that the guy who wrote Prometheus, Jon Spaihts, he's going to be rewriting the Doctor Strange script for Marvel, which was previously written by Thomas Dean Donnelly and Joshua Oppenheimer. The odd thing about this writer is that the only other credit aside from Prometheus is some like indie movie that I don't know if anyone's seen. And then he also is going to be writing the Mummy reboot. I don't know. Hector, how do you feel about him based on like Prometheus?
Well, we talked about this stuff before.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to the Marvel Studios movies, starting with Iron Man all the way up to whatever they're doing now, whoever they announce, I literally don't care who the writer is or who the director is because I just kind of trust the studio system.
Right.
All of their movies, for better or worse, they kind of feel the same. This movie's going to be just as much the writers and directors as much as it's going to be the producers who's making sure that it fits with the rest of their continuity. I mean, I definitely was bummed when Edgar Wright was no longer directing Ant-Man. There's only a handful. There's only a handful of directors, writers, behind the scenes people. They want to hear the name. I go, they're working on that movie. There's only a handful. I care about characters. I care about whatever. Because I'm an idiot. It's stupid. And I like good movies and stuff. But
you're a film pundit.
Thank you. If you're to tell me like, and this person is going to take a pass on the Doctor Strange script, Guillermo del Toro, I'd be like, what? Because I know his work. You know what I mean? He has such a style. I'm so familiar.
He's got that clout behind him.
He's got that clout.
Right. But I think the
right?
big key thing now is like Marvel's established itself so well that you pretty much trust them to be like, here you go, here's the script,
Sure.
fix it.
Right.
Exactly.
So I guess we have to just kind of be optimistic and
yeah.
hope for the best.
I'm just
we
stoked that
can
they're
hope for
making
the
a
best.
Doctor Strange movie. That's what I'm excited about.
Right.
That's exciting. But one thing that slightly concerns me is going back and watching Prometheus. There were a lot of plot holes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there was a lot of things that they could have fixed in that movie
Right.
that who knows why they didn't.
Right.
Maybe
And a lot of that comes
money.
back to also is like who's at fault for that? Is it the writers? Is it
Exactly.
Is it this guy? Is it Lindelof? Is it Ridley Scott? It's like we'll never know.
We will never, know, right?
Yeah.
He could have written a perfectly flawless
Right. I mean,
script.
I was looking online today on Collider. They actually have the first draft that. Oh man, I forget his name. What's his name?
The writer who
Yeah,
did it.
Spaihts.
Yeah.
They have the Spaihts version, then they have the Lindelof like polished version.
Yeah.
So I didn't read them, but
Yeah.
I'm curious to actually go read
I'm
and
sure
see how
people
different
have,
they are.
and I'm sure people have read both scripts, and they'll probably still be biased one way or the other.
Right,
There are people
exactly.
that really don't like Damon Lindelof as a
Right.
writer, even though I think he's great. I've liked a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff he's worked on.
Right.
But we were talking about this earlier. I would kind of blame, for the most part, Ridley Scott for the problems of Prometheus.
Yeah, because he has the last say,
He
last
he has the
call.
last say. He has the
He's-
most power.
Yeah.
Right.
So no matter, like you said, no matter how good these scripts might have been, and I was telling Adam earlier, like I know they wrote specific scenes and they even shot them, but Ridley Scott decided to take them out to make the movie better paced.
Right.
And it's like,
Right,
cool,
right.
when you take that one scene out, it makes the scene that happens a little bit later seem really stupid.
Exactly.
Not make sense.
Not make sense. Like
And
the guy.
we've seen it a lot in other movies in the
Right.
past.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. From working
So-
in post production, we've
Dun,
seen
dun,
scenes
dun.
edited out, and we're like, they should have left that in.
Yeah.
Before we
or-
spoil
Because
any
people are
movie
gonna
that we
pick
worked
this
on.
movie apart. Because it's like,
or vice versa. you
Yeah.
know, where
yes.
they are
Oh, they
like,
should have added
They
this.
should have added this.
Yeah.
This
or
doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
this
of course.
better
Oh, well.
than
So-
they had
So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait. So we don't know when it's coming out. It's either 2016 or 2017.
Cool.
They have two dates.
Potentially.
Yeah,
Doctor
2 dates
Strange.
reserved. So we'll find out.
I like to
excited.
listen. The behind the scenes stuff is great. I like to try to be as optimistic as I can, at least until I see the first trailer of a
Right.
movie. Like that's what I did with the new Ninja Turtles movie. I was like, hey, let's wait. This sounds like it's going to be an awful mess, but let's wait. And then the trailer came out, and it's an awful
And
mess.
it's a terrible,
It
awful
looks
mess.
awful. It looks so bad. So
That's a whole nother
that's
topic
all
to
I
get
know.
into.
I just want to bring that up every chance I get. I like to bring up the Ninja Turtles to
Just so
Augie.
you can see me.
Yeah.
Get real sad.
He's
Ugh.
sweating
Get real
already. I
sad.
can see. He's glistening. Hey.
It's coming down. You
Before we
guys.
start crying turtles,
Yeah.
let's talk about Daredevil.
All right.
Okay.
Because Rosario Dawson was just cast. She'll be.
Mm.
She's gonna play someone.
I rode my bike near Rosario Dawson.
Oh, I bet
She
you
said-
did.
She said hi.
I like to ride my bike next to
What?
Rosario,
Really?
Rosario
Oh, no,
Dawson.
I was
awesome.
riding my bike down to the ArcLight.
In Hollywood.
I was riding my bike on the sidewalk. There was this black car and this lady walking in. I look, it's Rosario Dawson. I was like, "Hey, Rosario." She's all, "Hey," and then gets in the car.
I
It
love
was
that.
cool.
According to the press release, it says, "quote She's gonna play a dedicated young woman whose quest to heal the wounds of Hell's Kitchen brings Matt Murdock unexpectedly crashing into her life, while her own journey forever alters the course of his battle against the injustices of this broken city."
You know what? You know what? That might be Night Nurse. Now that you, I didn't read that description.
Yeah.
I
though.
read that. I read
That's
that
one of the
Obscure
things is Night
character.
Nurse. Yeah.
Pretty obscure character.
Yeah.
Like I said, I looked at other rumors where they're like she could be playing Elektra.
Oh,
You could maybe
baby.
read that description and be like, that could sound like Elektra. She's
could
trying to
be.
heal
True.
Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. There's,
But
you know,
Heels Hell's Kitchen is very
it's very,
specific.
it
Right.
sounds like a
And there's a
nurse or like a
character named
medical.
Night Nurse.
I know.
Yeah.
I
So
think
So
you're right.
we'll see.
yeah, we'll
I
see.
think you're right.
The other thing that actually I didn't bring up, but Vincent D'Onofrio is going to play Wilson Fisk.
Oh yeah, I'm stoked
which
about that.
I'm actually really excited for.
Yeah, the Kingpin. Stoked
Yeah.
about
He's gonna
that.
play the
Vincent,
Kingpin.
Vincent D'Onofrio is
To
a
go
great
to go
actor.
from Thor in Adventures of Babysitting the
That's it.
Kingpin, it's pretty awesome. Who can forget that
He was
little
the
moment?
mighty Thor. That
He
was a
was.
great moment.
Yeah. Apparently, according to multiple sources,
Credible?
the villains, yes, credible.
Okay.
I don't go with nonsense.
Okay.
Hopefully, the bad guys in Ant-Man are going to be the Cross cousins, Darren Cross and Will Cross, who eventually becomes Crossfire, a villain in the comics.
How do you feel about that, Augie? Aren't those your favorite characters? I think it's fine. Ant-Man does not have a good roster of villains. Ant-Man has traditionally been a character who's just like been on the Avengers. So
Right.
his villains are Avengers villains.
Right.
His number one arch enemy is Ultron, the evil robot.
Which
Right.
happens
Now
to be the greatest threat to
humanity,
the Avengers.
to the
Humanity,
Avengers.
yeah.
Right.
And he created him, and it's this great thing. But now that option's not on the table because
They changed it.
they're changing it up.
Yeah.
The Ultron is not going to be an enemy to the Avengers, and most likely Tony Stark in the second Avengers movie, which is fine. They're
Yeah.
mixing it up. So that leaves Ant-Man with what? There's no other villains. I'm surprised that they're going with these Crossfire guys, these cousins, these characters. They're great actors. One of the actors is from House of Cards. Great actor.
Corey Stoll will play Darren Cross, and then Patrick Wilson will play William Cross, who ends up being Crossfire.
I love Patrick Wilson.
Watchmen was awesome.
It's just going to be an establishing movie.
It's the same thing with like the first Iron Man movie. The villain was Ironmonger. Obadiah Stane. Like no one was like, who? Like
I freaking love the first.
But it's Jeff Bridges. It's true. He plays it so well. You love it. Is it like so obscure that we're like, meh?
We're indifferent, but we're not like opposed to it. Like what Augie's saying.
Opposed to it at all. It's just going to be. I think mainly it's going to be to establish Ant-Man.
Right.
So the Cross cousins are just going to, they are the villain for villain's sake. In the movie.
Right. It's like he said it best. It's like the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, like they did versions of the first Iron Man script where they tried to have the villain be the Mandarin.
Right.
But it's just like it's too much.
Right.
Because a lot of history. It's too much for the first movie. The Mandarin's supposed to be Iron Man's arch enemy, but it's too much. Batman Begins did not have the Joker because that would have been too much. They're like we want to just lay the groundwork.
Right.
We want to focus on Bruce Wayne, and then we'll get to that.
Exactly.
So
obscure villains, easier for us to focus on the main character.
Easy
comic book film pundits.
Oh God, Jesus!
Was it the boop that did?
Yeah. Boop. All right, so we're gonna move over to a section that is titled honorable mentions, which are not necessarily comic book movies or TV shows, but they're comic book related films or television series that are based on something that maybe at one point was a comic book. So like a Star Wars or a Star Trek or a Heroes, which is the first thing we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about Heroes.
Talk about Heroes.
Okay. So it's been reported that Jack Coleman, the guy who played HRG, he's coming back for the new miniseries.
The horned-rimmed glasses. He was a cool character.
Claire's dad. Which kind of makes sense. I mean, he was like the main guy at Primatech or the company. He was the main guy. So, I mean... Kind of a given that he has to come back, right?
I mean, I can't really. Yeah, I don't really have a specific opinion about that casting announcement. Whatever, it makes sense. It's cool. How do you just feel about the show in general? The fact that they're bringing back heroes. How do you feel about it?
I think season 1 was good enough for them to try again.
Right.
Maybe
it's a good idea.
Give it a little bit more life, and I'm hoping that it does do well. I'm hoping that it does do well.
Well, I think the smart move that they're doing is it's going to be a 13-episode miniseries.
Okay.
So like they already have it planned out.
Yeah, it's not a full like series like how it was before. It's not 23 episodes. It's just 13 episodes. We'll see how it does. We're going to do like a little bit of like a digital. I think they're doing some kind of like digital series before that leads up to it that gives backstory. And if it does well, maybe they'll come back again. If not, then there you go. Just to close it out. And the final piece is pretty exciting. Star Wars.
Let's talk about
Rian Johnson is going to write and direct episode 8.
Is that how you pronounce his name? Ryan?
Ryan.
But it's spelled like Rian?
Yeah, but it's Ryan.
Rian Johnson.
Yes.
But yeah, he's gonna write and direct episode 8, and apparently he's gonna write a treatment for episode 9. He's not directing it. There were some people saying that he was gonna direct both, but he's writing a treatment for 9.
First of all, super stoked that it's not J.J. Abrams again.
Right.
I love J.J., but it, like we were saying,
Fresh feet.
This follows the formula that was done by
in the original
A
trilogy.
New Hope, Empire Strikes Back,
George
and Return
Lucas,
of the Jedi.
Irvin Kershner, and Richard Marquand.
All different dudes, all different people writing and directing those movies, but they all still felt cohesive,
Right.
and so that's cool.
That's one
cool.
thing I was talking about with Adam though. Earlier in the week, JJ has such a distinct style. Do you think that he's going to put that lens flare in the first one and then have other people try to copy it?
I think what he's going to do is he's going to focus on making the movie feel like it's part of the original trilogy. I think he's going to try to make it feel like it's a continuation and still implement his style to some extent. I don't think it's going to be like a full Star Trek, like what he did with Star Trek. I don't think he's going to try to reinvent it.
Okay.
He's going to try to continue what's already been done. Because I watched Empire Strikes Back last night. You watch that movie, just the way it's shot, like every single shot in that movie is so particular and so like impactful.
Yeah.
I think he's really going to try to focus on those types of things, like make it really feel special, like what those old movies felt like. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us on this first grandiose episode of the Film Pundits.
We did it.
The comic book Film Pundits.
Comic book Film Pundits.
Where can people find you guys on the interwebs if they want to reach out and ask you questions and get a hold of you?
You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/HeckTerminator, I think is what it is.
Something like that.
Just friend request me. I'll accept it. I don't care.
I don't know what my Facebook name is, but I'll probably link it down there.
We'll link it. We'll link it in the show notes. But you can find him on Instagram as ZombieGuts15.
Yeah, ZombieGuts15.
Very nice.
See, I'm doing your pimping for you.
Hey, dude.
You're welcome. You should pay me for
I'm
this.
a newbie to this stuff.
Guys, should I get Instagram?
You
should get.
Really?
You guys should both
Just-
have an Instagram and a Twitter.
I have a
Thanks,
Twitter.
man.
Do you know what it
Zombie
is?
Guts 15
Oh snap!
on Twitter.
All right. Now we know.
I'll get back. I'll do Twitter. I'll get
Cool.
back into it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's good.
I tried it out. I didn't like it. I'll get back into it.
You should. I
Alright,
think you
alright.
really like it.
It's
All right.
it's good.
I need somebody to show me how to do it.
We'll do it. We'll do it after the
pretty
show.
easy.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and then you can find me on all the social media stuff at Adam Hlavik. Add me. I'll add you. Let's talk comic book movies. Why
Thanks,
not?
Adam. Thanks for having us, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
And
Super
if you
fun.
guys like the show, you can also find the show on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, all under The Film Pundits. Go ahead and add us. And if you like the video, subscribe. Consider sharing it with your friends. And we'll see you next week. Thanks.